Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 21st audio file in the audio cast series known as the Q News Patriot. I'm the Q News Patriot. My name is SGAnon. It is good to be back with you all, um, although I was not planning on being back with you quite this quickly. Um, Always good to have a reason to come on the air. Thank you all very much for being patient and understanding with my family time. These sorts of things, that's why we're all, here right now doing what we're doing, right? It's for the people we love and for the love of our country and our civilization and our communities and the love of freedom as an ideal to mankind. And so I want to stress that that is um, the point where we are coming from as we go through these next couple of months. There are a number of, we'll just say, anxiety building things that are going on. We have the Russian government coming out now and openly accusing the government of the United Kingdom of attacking their critical infrastructure. That can be interpreted, and I'm sure in any other world situation, if the Q Alliance plan were not were not the things that are currently going on, we would be looking at a very serious lead up to an all-out conflict with developed nations. And so, understanding that, that's why we do take the time with our family and our loved ones and our little ones. Excuse me. We share our energy and our space with them. We share our ideals with them and our encouragements with them and our toils too. And they refuel us and recharge us. And so I would not be the very best version of myself with each of you this evening, were it not for the appropriate and appreciated iron spine that is my partner in life. And so that being said, let's go ahead and move right into some stuff tonight. I don't want to keep you all too terribly long. This will not be a very long file, maybe 20 minutes. I'm simply going to lay it all out there from where I'm standing here. We are going to do a decode again over the next couple of days. We've had some comms from Scavino that are very interesting. We've also had some interesting situations going on behind the scenes that kind of tie into some of those comms. So, understanding that, let's move right into it. For those of you out there who think nothing happened yesterday, I can empathize with your disdain. I did not expect things to be quite as quiet yesterday about what did happen, because I felt like what did happen would make it into the mainstream news in a highly negative optical way, which of course for us means very positive. Russia fully completed its logistical pre-invasion operations yesterday and began the full mobilization of the Russian war machine. There is a ground invasion force 320,000 strong being bussed and taken by rail car and other aircraft and etc. down into the what was formerly Eastern Ukraine has now been annexed and recognized by Russia. At the same time that we have this going on, we have the Belarusian military accepting weapons shipments from the Russian Federation and taking them to the Ukrainian Belarusian border. A full-scale invasion can come any day, as soon as tomorrow. They are ready, and they have begun full mobilization to occupy and conquer what has been the country of Ukraine. It is my understanding that the Russian military coalition will be providing humanitarian relief and aid to citizens that are caught in the crossfire, citizens who are targeted by the Ukrainian Nazi regime government and their pawns at different locality levels. But if you are in Ukraine right now, it would be my admonishment to you to bring the things that you absolutely cannot live without and to really consider the meaning of that statement and get your butt out of there as quickly as possible. It is a tense situation. There will be unbelievably heavy attacks unleashed by Russia as they soften up the battlefield in preparation for full ground movement. The Russian Air Force is currently flying into the teens of sorties a day in that area. Those are only going to increase in intensity, and rules of engagement will be adjusted to target essentially any piece of the Ukrainian infrastructure, government, or military that is capable of giving resistance. Understanding that, we are going into Halloween. Halloween is a Luciferian harvest day. Halloween, as recognized by the Druidic cultures of the Celtic regions, who practiced an inherited form of the Luciferian Satanism that we are currently living with today. They essentially, the traditions behind Halloween, if I can sum it up really fast, the pumpkins that were carved to be faces were children that the home had given up to the Druidic Satanist leaders, the community leaders, for use in sacrificial rituals and blood magic rites. And so if a household had 3 carved pumpkins on the ground or around the doorway outside on that particular eve, All Hallows Eve, that means that they had given 3 children. If the communities living under Druid rule refused to surrender any of their children, all children were taken. And so understanding that, we need to understand that the day we're moving into is a day where they have traditionally believed, and I believe have carried out rituals to bring them, believed it, how to say this. They have done things to heighten their spiritual attunement to the forces of our realm, but not in the way that can and should always be done. And so understanding that, it is very possible that we could see something as momentous as a nuclear scare event or a Russian ground invasion full launch, or even something that maybe we're not conceiving of right here in this moment on Halloween or the day before or after. Having said that, let's talk about that nuclear scare event. Many of you out there are weary, and rightfully so. You are exhausted. You are at your wits' end with fear in some cases. You are at your wits' end with your local communities in other cases. You, in many cases, are living a hellish nightmare. That is not lost on anyone who is planning and executing this operation. We need to talk for a moment about, excuse me, mind control before we talk about this possible scare event. Mind control through the program called MK Ultra and other programs like it, such as the Nazis' Operation Ultra, is based in fear. When you consider that the human being has 7 large energetic connections to unseen forces that the loving creator provided this realm. Sometimes they're called chakras. It's better to term them energetic connections to the source of all, the divine love of all. You also have 70-something thousand energetic pathways, which a great deal of your nervous system aligns with and follows. Energy in motion generates sensation. understanding that mind control is capable of generating enough fear within that energetic spiritual matrix to lock up some of those connections, both in the body as a whole and also the synaptic processes that occur in the brain. Additionally, fear takes the mind completely out of a cognitive state and puts it into a limbic fight or flight situation, pumps the body full of adrenaline, and readies you for action as opposed to thought. That is why we have dealt with what we have dealt with, and it is why we are all here. Let's take a broad view. Suppose that in 2016, 2017, Donald Trump and the United States military made an emergency announcement, put the country through another 9/11 style event, but instead took it all the way and gave us freedom in that 4-year period. Let's say that would have been concluded by 2020 or 2021. While the understandings of everyone obviously would change, the risk associated with that course of action, knowing that the population of the world was so enthralled and entangled in this spiderweb matrix of fear and reactivity, it is highly likely that that situation over 4 years' time would have spiraled out of control and been uncontainable. In an uncontainable and uncontrollable situation, you cannot track down every enemy asset. Some will get away. That's exactly what happened at the end of World War II. A great deal of them got away. We were not ready as a civilization to undertake the task of outing them first and then quietly extracting most of them, forcing them to cooperate, exterminating the ones that don't, and playing out a plan to allow humanity to come into an organic awareness of where they have been, where they are now, and where they are going. And so, understanding that, let's come back to this nuclear possibility. I was on the Tor browser today doing some research. I found something where it talked about it was a possible like attache dispatch kind of thing. It looked like a message of some sort. Dispatching General Mark Milley to Ukraine. I decided to reach out and confirm that. And that is true. My understanding is that Mark Milley was taken down by the White Hat. Well, let me rephrase. Mark Milley was detained by the White Hat operation shortly after Joe Biden was sworn in as president, and very soon after Donald Trump was read in as commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Milley was given a part and role to play, and he will go down for treason against the United States military and the United States government, which is an offense that he actually committed under President Trump. The treason this time, however, will be for assisting in the development, safeguarding, and delivery of a nuclear false flag. Now, that being said, what does nuclear scare event mean? Does it mean something goes off? Does it mean that the mainstream media blows up everyone's phone saying that a rogue nuke from the Russian military has gone missing? Or, accusing terrorists within the Russian forces of, terrorists in air quotes, of the Russian forces, utilizing a nuclear device. Who knows? All of that being said, I also am aware of the fact that there are no less than 2 separate, fully capable White House studios. I also know that CNN has been caught on cell phone footage, green screening an entire war scene in Syria. So I want each of you to consider the possibility that if we come to a nuclear scare event, especially if there is some sort of detonation or device that goes off, we need to question, first off, did it actually go off? And secondly, where is the information coming from? The individuals on the black hat side of the fence have had the capability to have each of you thinking that, to have each of you believing things about yourselves, our earth, our medicine, our food, our water, our sky, Antarctica, our military, and our governments. They have kept us in the dark for decades. That sort of technological capability, which I do believe that they still have in certain respects because the mainstream takeover is not fully completed at this time, they could very well fake an entire situation that could drum up a similar fear response to something on the level of 9/11 or even a large false flag in a large urban area. I am here to tell all of you that while patriots are in control of the situation, patriots are not the only ones making decisions. There is an opposing side. They do have capability. They still have a fair amount of liquid money that we are gearing up to take from them. But we have been sort of draining every coffer manually, if you will, up until this point. Your vindication is coming, but not without a brief period of uncertainty and some intimidating public optics. Be there for your sleepers and be there for your loved ones. Be smart, be brave, and be of good courage. We are moving rapidly into writing the 2020 election. We are moving rapidly into outing the calamity that has been COVID-19 for what it is. But we need to do this housekeeping first and get a great deal of the physical lifting done before we put things on display for the public. If you are a business owner and you decide that you are going to open a multinational enterprise, do you not do everything possible with every available resource that you have at your disposal in the fastest manner that makes the most sense to ready the entire organization prior to opening your doors? Furthermore, would it make very much sense for you to get your enterprise 45% of the way complete and then open your doors to the general public and still have work left to do? This is the greatest setup period that humanity and mankind has ever lived through. It's been going on now since 2015. We are coming into a point of declass and disclosure, which will allow us to set up certainly the next 10 years of political direction here on the earth. But I would argue that if done properly, we can safeguard our world and our progeny for hundreds and hundreds of years to come. This sort of depravity will never be able to exist ever again. No one bearing this sort of disposition on life, no one harboring these sorts of skeletons and sick beliefs and behaviors will be able to exist in society. We will be so very capable of reading through the BS, so to speak, understanding the vibrational spiritual nature of people and ourselves and our communities in such a way that this level of wrongdoing will never again be possible. And if I may borrow a phrase from the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America, we will make the entire earth proud again, and we will make the entire earth great again. It is coming. Your vindication is nigh, but there is turbulence ahead. I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.